good morning, and welcome to this special Island Stat Sports Talk. I'm your host, Earl Beerston. Joining me is the national coach for field hockey, and Kovin Moodley. Kovin, first of all, welcome. And I guess next week you got your hands full. You'll be running from pillar to post to try to advise both the women's national team and the men's national team in the upcoming CAC qualifiers. But we know you can handle that as you usually have things in place, and you have very good assistants to help you out. But tell us a bit about, obviously, the talk around both teams of what you want to accomplish in Mexico at the end of it on May 12th.
So we've got, obviously, like as you said, we're working with both teams. It's awesome that the men are able to attend another international tournament. I was here 3 years ago working with the men and the ladies, and it's now like the cycle is just repeated, and we go back to a qualifier again. So we're entering a different phase. Both the men and ladies are in different phases of a program. So I think that's like probably the biggest change, and something that it's not the easiest to hold on to, because I'm running training sessions that are very dynamic and different, with completely different outcomes and approaches. So the ladies are 3 years into a program. We're now starting to have another sort of like building phase. So we're building towards something. There's a lot more of a focus on the juniors. There's quite a significant blueprint of the style of hockey and the way that we want to play, and a clear understanding on the development that we need in order to get there. With the men, it's just amazing that we're able to get to a tournament again. We're working on trying to build the selection pool up and establish like really strong foundations for the men's national program. And when we look at like our structures within the hockey federation, in some of our age groups, we actually have more boys than girls that are playing. So it seems like the sport is in a healthy place. And the whole idea behind what we're trying to achieve with the men's program is to leverage it and then make sure that there's something quite sustainable and substantial to develop and work towards. And it's quite nice because we're starting that process with some new faces as well within the team.
Yeah. I mean, looking at the men will face off against teams such as the host nation, Mexico, Guatemala, Venezuela, Jamaica, and Panama. These are no pushovers. And these teams, these countries are quote unquote seasoned, as we are. Just as you've indicated, you're just putting the men's team kind of back together again. Expectations for what the growing stage, because everybody wants to win, but when you're kind of rebuilding, your expectations have to be just a little more realistic, don't they?
Yeah. So I think it's just the nature of like sport in general, is that at any point, anyone has the potential to win a game. It's not about whether we can win, once off. It's how can we get to a point where we have a solid enough foundation that the wins become more prevalent and more possible in each time we take the field. Right. So, we always enter every game with the understanding that we want to try and achieve something substantial. And at the end of the day, it's a sport, and we want to. There's a potential for a winner and a loser in every situation. But when you're building something, it's really important to have an understanding of, like our metrics and the markers that we need to hit in order to make the win more possible more often. And I think just getting that understanding through to players is probably the biggest challenge, because sometimes you can win a game and play really poorly, and sometimes you can lose a game and hit your markers. But we're governed by that feeling of a result, and it's having to make sure that we're really process driven. So with this group of guys, it's more vision. It's making sure that they understand that they are part of a process, and attending the qualifiers is one step in that process. And I think the guys are starting to buy into it. And it's the same thing with the ladies. They're just a little bit more sort of like there's a deeper understanding of my style of coaching and the way in which I go about things, which has been really nice for me as well, to have that level of consistency, because then it establishes even more trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The women, I noted on the official sheet where all the teams are registered and so forth, we have a few more experienced or seasoned players, and then we have some that are quite young, but everybody's got some experience going forward. How do we condense all of that and ensure that we're not overworking the seasoned ones, and we're making sure that the younger ones kind of catch up, especially the pace that we're going to see, or they're going to see in Mexico?
Yeah, I think part of that is having to establish a stronger pathway. So for your structures, we've got like our junior structures. It's making sure that in each of those structures that there's an opportunity for us to play against opposition. When the kids turn 16, when they turn 18, we get them to experience what it's like to develop that competitiveness.
Yeah.
At the moment, we obviously understand it's not the cheapest thing to go away, and it's not the cheapest thing for people to come here. So that's an obvious barrier that we have to try to overcome. And the only way that we seem to be able to go about it in this way is to try to look after players as much as possible in terms of preparing them and then giving them the experience. So we do have like these natural barriers being situated in such an isolated part of the world. But when we go to this tournament, there's certain players that experience the pressures and the demands of being away, and it might be something overwhelming the first time they experience it, but then they're so much better the next time. So at the moment, we've got like quite a lot of juniors that we have on the ladies side, and when you're building and you're trying to give them these experiences, it's part of a bigger process, and it might be something that we can then sort of leverage for the next tournament or whatever comes next. But the biggest thing is that we've got that experience, level of experience in some of the senior players, and there's a process within the team of trying to look after the younger players, or the ones that are debuting for the the first time at an international level, and trying to look after players in that way.
Yeah. In your experience with Bermuda teams, now that the season is over, is it a hurt, or is it a hindrance, or is it a good thing that now they can just focus on the national team duties? Or would you rather them still be playing some intense games, over the weekends?
I think that's the challenge here, is when you get to the end of a regular sports season. I mean, you can see it with like the way that you get players in the football world speaking about how their schedules are so overloaded. You get to the end of a season, and that is the time where a break needs to happen, generally. For us, obviously, it's a benefit to me as a national coach, because the mindset of players is to focus on the national program. But at the end of the day, just playing sports and being on the field and being able to get the competitiveness and the ability to run sports specifically, I think that also has a bit of value. But again, we're in Bermuda, where a lot of the players that we rely on to create that competition also need a break.
Yeah,
they've gone through the season, but that's part of the vision, and it's part of the approach of looking after a sport that it is a bit of a niche sport, and we do have quite a tight knit but a small community, and you have to look after everyone. And we're seeing it now. We're having these warm up games against the players that have just they were part of the league, and now the league is ended.
Right.
Everyone loves to play. Everyone wants to play hockey, but to get people to recognize that they need to give their bodies a rest, and you want that high quality from the games as well. You don't want anyone to get injured from overuse or overtraining or anything like that. So navigating that is always going to be a challenge, and it's not just a challenge in Bermuda, it's a challenge everywhere in the world. I think we're trying to strike like the right balance with it, but it seems like it's going well.
Yeah. Now, we know no matter where you go in Mexico, you're dealing with altitudes and the fact that it's something new for Bermudians to have to adjust to. We saw the under 17 girls go through it in football. We've seen the men go through it in football, and we've seen the rugby team as well go into Mexico. And the last time, I believe, when the CAC games were in Veracruz, Mexico, a number of years ago, where it was just a struggle. So how do we make sure mentally, because it ain't nothing you can do about it physically, it's more mental thing than any, because you tend to think about that more often. How are we mentally preparing these athletes for that challenge as opposed to their opponent?
So there's obviously like we have fortunately, medical doctors that are on island that give us like, the advice, that are part of some of the other teams that you mentioned that have gone away. We actually had a seminar with one of the doctors who kind of gave us a bit of an understanding of what we might experience and how to manage it. And especially when you're speaking to someone who's a professional in their field and they give you that kind of guidance, there's certain things that we can do and certain things we can't do. And it just so happened that, football might have a little bit more resources available to them, but then we have to sort of compensate and figure things out from our side. And you're right that the mental side is just sort of like, one of the most important elements of any sport. But at the end of the day, if your fitness is not at a high level, you are going to decrease your output when you get to altitude, but that fitness needs to be, up there, so that whatever that decrease is, it doesn't leave you, so far behind. So that is conscious. We were exposed to some things that even for myself, when I was listening to the doctor explain it was new information to me. So that was like spark my brain and try to get me to try and problem solve. But I do know that when you are a team playing away, your body does adapt. And part of our preparation and our approach is to recognize that we are going to struggle in the beginning, but our body will equalize and adapt. And we might find like some of the latter games even easier than the beginning of the tournament, provided we recover and we look after ourselves as we go through.
Yeah. One of the things I've noted, you've got 5 games in just about a week for both men and women. But going from a season where you play once a week, now playing 5 games in a short space of time, obviously fitness is a key, but your body's not used to it. So preparing them for that challenge, how's that been?
I think like our regular training schedule is something that we try and use to compensate. Like I said, like if we have the opportunity to recreate a tournament schedule and prepare in that way, I think that's brilliant. But we are relying on players that are not part of national programs to have to then provide the opposition, and sometimes that doesn't always work out. So then we just add extra training time slots in the week to try to compensate. I also know that most of the players have pretty high profile and serious jobs, and some of them are school learners as well. So to try to manage that, we have to work within phases, and there's certain phases where they have to give a lot of time to the training program, and some phases where you have to ease off and maybe deload a little bit. So it's finding that balance. And I mean, I when I first started, I was probably like making players live at the turf, they probably saw way too much of me and worked exceptionally hard, and sometimes more is not necessarily the answer as well. And that's where the experience definitely comes in. So giving these players the opportunity to go away and play. I mean, we all want to play at a higher level and play against other nations where you get to represent. And I think over time, I've noticed that people start to actually look after themselves and look after their bodies and do the work that is necessary, that is outside of your preparation and training, that has to be done individually. And that's probably one of the biggest differences that I've noticed, is that buy-in. When we speak about like national pride and we speak about your own personal pride, I've seen a remarkable difference in that element itself, which allows us to go on to achieve a little bit more in our program.
Sure. Is there anyone from either the men's team or the women's team that are unable to go through injury or work commitments that you would have loved to have added to the team?
Yeah, we have certain challenges when it comes to timing of the year. I think for a lot of like corporate, it's such a busy time of the year, and not every company is able to afford their employees the time off. It's also exam season. And then, you do have the injuries every now and then. To be honest, Earl, I don't get attached to any particular players, because I understand the nature of the timing and scheduling and how getting time off work might affect everyone. So there's definitely those struggles where you very rarely get, all of your selection pool that are eligible for a tournament. And even with the tournament that we had in September, it's not even been a calendar year. So some people are going away within a 12-month period for a second time. It definitely puts a lot of pressure on the players and on their employers as well. And I've noticed that doesn't always allow us to have not just the selection, but just the selection pool, it just makes it a little bit smaller. And that's attaching myself to that has been
a new challenge.
It's always a struggle.
I have to say, when I met you a few years ago, I said, give him a year and he won't have no hair on his head because he's going to pull it all off. But you've managed to keep it on your head and even grow a beard. So.
I know. And you know what? I will say that I came here with. I mean, we were post-COVID when I came. There was a lot of interview where everyone just wanted to play sports again. I came with fresh ideas, and then obviously I feel like you can create a movement with. When you're in the right headspace. And it obviously allowed us to go on to achieve things, but everything comes at a cost. And when people give more to one area, they probably give less to another. And finding that balance with family time, work time. I mean, I've got players in the team that from the men and ladies that have, they have kids, they have girlfriends, wives, boyfriends, you're dealing with people, with adults and kids. And as you manage all of those things, it has definitely been an eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I want to wish you all the best, and the team. Obviously, it's not going to be easy in Mexico, as you've already seen some of the competition that they will face, and all the best.
I appreciate it, and I hope that the representation of the players is as strong as it's been in the past, because there's a lot of sacrifices that come with preparing, and then there's obviously the privilege of representing your national team, and all we want is to do it in the right way. So I hope that we can be a good advocate for sports in Bermuda again.
Yeah, well, I would encourage you to keep them up and keep them ready. It's going to be tough, but hey, they're representing the country, and all the best to everyone.
Thank you so much, and thanks to you.
All right, have a good day.